Good evening. Welcome to the Granville County Board of Commissioners March 20, 2023 meeting. If I could have your attention now and have Commissioner Jimmy Gooch lead us in prayer and pledge allegiance, please.
If you will, join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity for all of us together here tonight. We all come together as citizens of Granville County, and we all love this county. Help us as a board make the decisions that's best for the future of our county and for future generations to come. Help those here understand the limits of our power and what we can do, and help us all to understand that all power is in your hands, Father. Please bless all of our citizens as we go forward. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, Granville County citizens, tonight, and we're going to start with the consent agenda. Board, you've had plenty of time to review this information. What is the pleasure of the board?
I move for approval of the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'd now like to take an opportunity to recognize one of our citizens. Give me 1 second here. The purpose is to hear the speech of a Dr. Martin Luther King essay contest winner by a Julia Gates, a freshman from J.F. Webb High School. Can you hold on a second, ma'am?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself before you start?
Yeah, I'm Julie Gates. I'm a freshman from J.F. Webb High School. I play softball and volleyball, and I am one of the highest in my class.
Thank you very much. Well, we thank you very much for coming tonight, and we look forward to hearing it. And at the conclusion of your essay reading, I'd like for you to come up on the podium there, and Dr. Cozart and Dr. Cozart would like to make some special words, and I have a special presentation for you.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Earlier in this semester, I was given the opportunity to enter an essay contest dedicated to Dr. Martin Luther King. The assignment was to find common drive between Dr. King and myself, and that happened to be our faith in Christ. This sparked a great passion for me as I wrote this essay, because not only was I talking about an amazing American citizen, but I also got the chance to talk about God himself. My JROTC Army instructor, Colonel Skip Lewis, gave me the chance to speak at the Granville County MLK celebration earlier in January. The power of the Holy Spirit that was put into this speech allowed for it to be shared with many more people. And this is why I get the honor to share it again today. Dr. Martin Luther King was the best known civil rights leader in American history. He went through many trials and tribulations, but had many, many successes. These include a multitude of awards and the Nobel Peace Prize. It was because of Dr. King's faith in Christ that he was able to persevere and reach his end goals. While Dr. King was in the spotlight, he was ridiculed, shamed, and mocked. Although he had those who believed in him, he also had many adversaries. Standing firm in his faith and building that relationship with God was his stronghold. What then shall we say in response to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? Romans 8:31. His trusting in God was what got him through and up on top. Galatians 3:28 says, "There is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male or female, for we are all one in Christ Jesus." Dr. King treated and loved everyone equally. despite their race, culture, or who God made them to be, Dr. King loved them as they were, just as Jesus loved him. He lived with this mindset as his first priority until the day that he died. Dr. King dreamed of a world with little to no hardships, peace, equality, and love for all. In his famous I Have a Dream speech, he incorporated scripture from Isaiah 40, 4-5, explaining that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. Whilst he did everything in his power to make a positive impact and better the world, he had great trust in God's power to make all things new. During the lockdown of COVID-19 and just being a teenager in today's time, it's hard. I have been through many hardships and losses, but I won every single time because I had God in my corner. My relationship with God is and always has been the one constant in my life, surrounded by a world that's forever changing. I remind myself frequently of the very things Dr. King overcame. I had to firmly believe that even in the dark times, God will make all things new. Isaiah 41:10 says, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and uphold you. I will help you with my right hand." I have learned that God is the backbone of overcoming the obstacles of life. In the same way, it is why Dr. King overcame all that he did. History shows us that Dr. King was a man of peace, love, and determination. Even throughout the hardships that came with the civil rights movement, he bounced back stronger every single time. Few leaders in American history have displayed the level of selfless service and perseverance displayed by Dr. King. For the most part, the world will never understand what motivated him to pursue peace and love with no personal gain. Not unless you understand God's calling. He answered to King Jesus as the ultimate authority. He answered the call to love everyone equally, and he made that his life goal until the day his life was taken too soon. But that did not stop him from the impact that he left on our country for years to come. Thank you.
One side of me says, let's do the benediction. If Julie is ever at my church, one thing for sure, she will not speak before me. She has to be after me. But this is my second opportunity to hear her. Impressive both times. And I want to give you one of our county coins. And I'll tell you what, I am so impressed with you. Ninth grade at a grade 9. No way you would get me up here in front of this group to do that. Awesome job. You've given us lessons that we all can grow up on.
I appreciate it.
And I think your mom is here.
Yes, she is.
Good to see you. We're so proud of you. And thank you. Thank you. Bring it home.
Mr. Chairman, while she's going to get that phone, I've listened to a lot of those ML King's speeches over the years, and I never brought a tear to my eye the way yours has. It was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
If you scoop it up just a little bit, she can have a halo on her head.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So we start with this right here. Public comments. Okay. We're now going to go into our public comment section. We need your name and your address. And if you would, limit your comments to 3 minutes. There'll be a clock on it. And at the 3-minute time period, we'll stop. And then you can provide written statements to us if you like at that point, if you don't complete it. Please remember to be courteous to those in the room and those at the podium. Mark Griffin.
My name is Mark Griffin. I live at 1629 Tally Ho Road, Oxford, North Carolina. First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. It's a very emotionally charged subject, a very controversial subject from where I stand, and something that's very near and dear to my heart. STEM has decided that they are going to try to have an ETJ, which means they are trying to extend their boundaries, planning boundaries, to encompass within 1 mile of their existing boundaries now. STEM at their weekly meeting the other night stated that the reason they were doing this was to protect us from the town of Butner, Creedmoor, and Oxford from their ETJ. I have no fear from Butner, Creedmoor, or Oxford. First of all, I'm too far out from their boundaries for them to reach me. And so STEM's scare tactic, I just didn't appreciate at all. Furthermore, this is not the first time STEM has tried to do this. And I ask this question: what will the ETJ do to value me and my citizens and community and neighbors that live around me, which is nothing? The only purpose that STEM wants to open this door is so they may increase their tax base, I believe with all my heart. STEM does not have anything that they can offer me. I have my own water and my own sewer. I allowed the state to pave my road several years ago and sign the right-of-ways. I pay for my own public trash to be picked up. I have my own street lights. And as far as that's concerned, I run my own police department. With the great help of our new sheriff, who is always there to when we call him, and not to slight the police force at STEM, who is always there as well, even though it's not within their jurisdictional bounds. We grew up together, and because of our close kinship and relationship, he comes and so does his officers if we need help, of which I will always be indebted to. These people come out and serve us every day, and I appreciate that. But the town of STEM, ladies and gentlemen, commissioners, doesn't have anything to offer me, except for they want a foothold in order to come in and tax me. I pay enough taxes now. I farm. I'm retired. I don't have money to pay any more taxes. Matter of fact, I work a little part-time job in order to help support me. And when my time's up, if you just give me a note,
It's done.
all right. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Can have a C. Paul Blaylock.
Good evening. I appreciate y'all, the service that y'all do for the county. I know it's not easy to be a commissioner, especially when people are here to complain. I'm here for the same reason that Mr. Griffin is here. A couple of weeks ago, I got a letter from the Carter Council of Government, and that's the first I'd heard about the ETJ.
Mr. Blaylock,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. Give us your address, name and address again.
Okay, it's Paul Blaylock. It's 1593 Tally Ho Road.
Okay, you're good. I'll make sure you get full 3 minutes.
All right. So, anyway, when we went to the meeting that we were told about the ETJ, that's exactly what Mr. Griffin said. The mayor opened the meeting up by telling us that the only thing that would change for us would be if we were going to develop our property, that it would have no other bearing on us whatsoever. And that STEM was doing that mainly to keep Butner from being able to overtake them. There was another gentleman at the meeting concerning their zoning, and he did explain to us that if the ETJ passed, that we would have to go by all the zoning ordinances of STEM, which is quite a bit more stringent than the counties are. And like Mr. Griffin said, they don't have anything to offer the people that they're trying to encompass, but they, except for, tighter restrictions, and we're just old country people that don't want to be a part of a city. We just want to live our life and be left alone. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blaylock. I had a Jesse Kern to scratch the name out. Are you certain you do not want to speak, Mr. Kern? Okay. Rosalind Green.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Rosalind Green, and I live at 4181 Shock Overton Road. My comments tonight. What's the county policy on making a basement in a private home, residential neighborhood into a rentable event center, nightclub, or party central? Where do I go to file a formal complaint? I would like to think if this is happening in other neighborhoods, that they would like to also take care of this issue and be able to sleep peacefully at night without cars turning around in their yard. Making a mess of their yard. I was going to say something nastier. Loud music, and all of the other types of disruptions that you would think of with residents having at least 60-plus cars at their private home in my neighborhood. I would just like to know, where do I go and how to lodge a formal complaint? And I think you all should know, my neighborhood may not be the only one, but I am not happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. James Tabron.
Good evening. My name is James Tabron. I live 1106 Jerome Road in Durham, North Carolina. I come here this evening, first of all, wanted to convey my pardon and my appreciation for giving us this opportunity to introduce ourselves. We are Lynn Graham, James Tabron. We are the current owners and project managers for the Old Harrisburg and Plummer Cheatham Cemetery. We have found ourselves in a very, very blessed situation to be part of a community that we are extraordinarily attached to, more than we realized in the beginning. My partner's already purchased a home here. There's no telling what I may do right after him. But we want you to be able to know where we are, and we come here not just to invest from a business perspective, but to try to do what we can to further enhance the quality of this very wonderful community. As perhaps I'm sure you are aware, the areas, Old Harrisburg, Plummer, Cheatham, had attained a state which was not necessarily with much appeal. We have come into it with a keen desire to want to enhance the appearance of that area, to make it a place where those who have family members buried there or those who pass by it will see this as another positive complement to this county. We are making further improvements. We're going to continue to do that, and we want to highlight the historic character of that area so that it can be, especially from the old Harrisburg side, so that people can walk through it, see the history, develop a much better feel for those who are interred there who have had such a prominent place in the history of this community. So this is an introduction to you all, to the community as well. We are very glad to be here, and we hope that as our efforts continue, you will see that we are committed to want to be a positive part of the fabric of this very wonderful community. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Ms. Green, I wanted to respond, and we typically don't respond, but you just need to reach out to the sheriff's office and/or the county manager at the end of the meeting, or you can go to our website, Granville County Government, and you can find their information. But I'm confident both gentlemen will be glad to speak with you. Christy Campbell.
Hey, I'm Christy Wilkins Campbell, 3108 Tom Hookins Road, in STEM, speaking about the STEM annexation. I am a Wilkins. We've been there for over 100 years. My grandfather was Tump Wilkins. Tump Wilkins Road is named after him. He was a big part of the development in the original STEM community. He lived outside of the city limits. He chose not to live in the city, but he helped build the town of STEM. I have the Granville County syndrome. We believe the world stops at the end of the county line. We don't want to be part of the city. And in referencing what was said earlier, we're not worried about Butner. Who's going to protect us from STEM? One of my questions would be, with the development that is coming on Brogdon Road, West Line Station Road, the plans to expand STEM, where are the resources coming from? We do not have EMS, police, water, anything to support that kind of development. If we wanted to live in a city with trolleys, townhomes, apartments, outlets, we'd move to Cary or somewhere besides STEM. We like the simple life. We like where we are. Yeah, it's nice. I drive to Durham to work every day. I can't wait to get home to smell the trees, the grass. We don't want all this building. We like it simple. We don't need a big city. If you want a place to eat, go to STEM Grill or go to town. Go to Raleigh, go to Durham. It's not a long drive. I don't know if I can say this, so stop me if I can't, but there is a lot of questionable things that STEM has done in the past. And it seems like only certain developers are going to be used to develop STEM. There's questions about money that was provided for COVID and how that was used. There's questions about how other things have been done, how town commissioner seats are filled.
So, ma'am, those issues are issues that you need to go to the town of STEM when
Okay.
they have the board meetings and address their board directly. We don't.
That's fine.
You're right. I appreciate your concerns, but they are not matters that we would address.
So if we're not going to be allowed to vote and represent ourselves, but we're going to be told what we can do without representation, if we're not going to be able to have a voice in what can be done, but we're being, they're coming in on us to say what we can do.
That's your 3 minutes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for understanding. Amber Carey.
Good evening. I'm Amber Carey, 2030 Carewoods Drive in STEM. I have a lot to say. I'll try and get through it really quickly. I'm here tonight to appeal to you, County Commissioners, on behalf of many who are opposed to STEM's upcoming extraterritorial jurisdiction proposal. The outlying lands of the incorporated town of STEM currently are home to many hardworking individuals who value rural life free of constricting regulations. Currently, we are under county zoning, which,
Ms.
by the
Carey,
way,
how long is can you raise that piece of paper up?
it's large font.
Okay. Just slow down a bit and I'll try to give you as much time as I can so we can hear you clearly. You're going real fast.
I just don't want to get cut off.
We'll work with you.
I appreciate that. Okay, I will slow down. The outlying lands of the incorporated town of Sten are currently home to many hardworking individuals who value rural life free of constricting regulations. Currently, we are under county zoning, which, by the way, we argue the current zoning, not proposed future county zoning, the current county zoning, is adequate for the way we wish to live. Agricultural Residential District 40 is the district in which we live in, and I'm going to read to you exactly what Granville County defines this district to be. Section 32-62 of Granville County Code says the AR40 district is established to promote a compatible mixture of agricultural, forestry, conservation, and very low-density residential uses where few public services will be available. Protection of the environment, preservation of prime farmland, and the continuation of rural lifestyles are the goals this district seeks to attain. I think many STEM residents would agree with this. As of right now, to use the land use table in Granville County Code of Ordinances, planned unit developments are only permitted in our agricultural residential zone by approved major special use permits, which are processed by none other than our Board of Commissioners. It's important to point this out because this means subdivisions cannot just be slapped wherever without rhyme or reason or attention to open spaces on county-zone lands. This proves that this kind of regulation can occur at the county level and does not require an ETJ. STEM has adopted a unified development ordinance which applies not only to their corporate limits, but would apply to any existing ETJ as well. The UDO is much more restrictive than the county's ordinances to current landowners seeking to make amendments to their properties, as well as future landowners. The R1 district of STEM seeks to, I quote, accommodate low-density single-family residential development and complementary uses compatible with the rural character of STEM. However, No mobile homes are allowed in this residential area. Additionally, in Olive Stem, there shall be no gravel driveways because they create dust. Limits of number of additional structures and accessory buildings with height and location requirements, even no such use as barbed wire fencing, which many use to contain livestock, are just a few nonsensical regulations. I implore you to drive around the proposed ETJ and see for yourselves just how much of the affected area consists of these things which the town of Stem seeks to restrict or eliminate altogether. Some wishes to promote increased commerce and multifamily housing in their corporate limits. Good for them. This doesn't require them to put out a 1-mile ETJ.
I did the best I could. Can you provide us those written comments?
Yes. I didn't get to the best part.
Yeah. Can you give us a copy and give to Ms. Weary? And we'll make copies and we'll put those as our record.
I'll come back and read the other half at the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay. If someone would like to yield their time to her so she can finish, you may do that. I think the next person on is Cindy Wilkins. Anyone?
What about the gentleman that said he didn't want to talk?
Mr. Curran? Jesse Curran? Is Jesse Curran here?
He's speaking of the ambulance franchise.
Hmm?
He's speaking of the ambulance franchise.
He's thinking of the franchise
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
He's on the wrong sheet.
He's on the wrong one. He's on the wrong one. Okay, so I can't help you out. Sorry. I wish I could. We would love to hear it all. We look forward to it, to you next meeting, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Cindy Wilkins. My address is 3145 Tump Wilkins Road, Stem, North Carolina, 27581. I apologize for being emotional, but I've lived in this home, this address for 27 years, and I like the way I live now. I don't want it to change. I absolutely do not want this ETJ to occur. I think it's ridiculous to think that people who move to STEM want to be controlled. That is not what we're there for. I've lived there a long time, and there's plenty of people that feel the same way as me. I agree with all of the others. I do not want this to go forward. I also have my own water and sewer and trash taken care of. It's actually shameful that the city of Stem or the town of Stem even put in writing all the things that they're not going to do for us. Not one thing said about what they're going to do except that they want to exercise unnecessary control over our lives and our property and the things that we do. I agree with Christy, my sister-in-law, that if we wanted to live somewhere like that, we could go anywhere else around. We do not have to live in Stem to have a town or a city and apartments and shopping areas. We live here because we do not want that. I drive all the way to Chapel Hill every day to go to work, and I bring myself home every single night to Stem, North Carolina, because that's where I want to live, and I want to continue to live the way I have all these years. I don't want it to change, and I do not want to be controlled unnecessarily. Thank you for the opportunity to let me speak.
Thank you, ma'am. Was Terry Wilkins your husband?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, I served with Terry.
Yes, he would be ashamed to hear this, and he'd be speaking if he were here.
Thank you. Amber Carey, I'm going to exercise my discretion as the chair and let you finish. I'm going to give you a minute and a half. Yes, ma'am.
In a public meeting with the town of STEM on March 15th of this year, we were informed that this proposed ETJ was to protect us and to preserve us. This is simply not the case. STEM's ordinances are discriminatory against lower-income citizens in an attempt to have a higher monetary class within their community, and they seek to obtain money from any permits that they need to be acquired by those in the ETJ. This is what this is about. We can look at the housing situation with the STEM's control right now and see how they are effectively regulating growth. Please take a ride to STEM's new minor subdivision, Owen Ridge, which is located off of Old 75. You see, this proposed ETJ has nothing to benefit the current landowners who will be affected by STEM's overreach. There's nothing more they can provide for us that the county is not already providing at this time. STEM Town Council is trying to drive out the very people who derive from and created this area in which they now so desire to live and control. Please, if and when this ETJ reaches your table, listen to what the citizens who will be affected have to say. We do not wish to be under regulations by a council for which we have no vote for representation, nor do we wish to conform to any idea of upscale living that threatens our rural, slow-paced, simple way of life.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Cheryl, I think it's Keith.
Good evening, Cheryl Keith, 7031 Cornwall Road, Oxford, North Carolina. I am a business owner and a resident of Granville County with ties to this county that date back to my adolescent days. I have come to grow tremendously for this county. I care so much about the people, and I have built a ton of relationships as a business owner and with my employer on the southern end of this community. I have worked alongside of a lot of our law enforcement here, our first responders and our teachers. We've been part of National Night Out, Relay for Life, numerous things. Most of these people here have grown up in this county, they have families here, and they care for this county, and I have grown to appreciate that. I have truly grown to appreciate our law enforcement here. When I moved here to a county that appreciated our law enforcement and took a sense of pride in what they did and who they were. Fast forward to 2019 when Sheriff Wilkins stepped down from office, there was a huge shift in this, a huge transpire in the way that things went from one end of the spectrum to the other. As someone who sat back and watched this take place, it was very hard, and I made the decision to jump on board and support them in any way that I could. We began getting out into communities, interacting with youth and the public, and rebuilding what has always been such a wonderful thing and had quickly become tarnished. There's no secret as to where I stood during the sheriff's election and who I stood behind. I saw the importance of knowledge, experience, fairness, and overall love for the protection of this county. I also saw a true understanding of law and order. I believe currently that it shows that we are missing some of that within our sheriff's office, but that is not the only thing to blame for what is going on in our sheriff's office. It is my understanding that if we're hiring 5 people, only 1 is certified. I want everyone to understand that uncertified means untrained. That is not acceptable. This is alarming and concerning on many, many levels. There are many people that work at the sheriff's office who feel the same way, but they're scared. They fear that their voices do not matter. I have heard the voice of many people from the sheriff's office, some that I have sought after, and some that have sought after me. Do you know why? Because I cared. I don't hold a title. I'm not an elected official yet. I'm just the ice cream lady, but I cared. I took the time to seek out and see how they felt. No one else has done that for these people, period. Across the board, it has not been done. These people have carried us for the last 3 years. I stand here tonight and realize that this may fall under deaf ears, and I'm a nobody with no importance at all, but my importance could never measure up to the folks that I'm about to speak on behalf of. We find ourselves in a point of crisis. We currently have the same number of deputies patrolling in 2023 that we had in 1995. 3 deputies to cover a shift of 60,000 residents. We have deputies attending domestic disputes with no backup. We have deputies answering 20 to 25 calls each shift independently. As I stated before, I may not have voted for the current sheriff in office, but the current sheriff in office is not what we should be facing or what we should be looking at this point. Regardless of who sits in the seat of sheriff, the people that sit under him deserve and have deserved better, and this problem did not start in November of last year. It started long before that. I would say the final switch and what we're seeing is a mass exodus right now may possibly be due to the leadership, but that is not the only reason why. I stand before the Board of Commissioners and ask each of you to consider what price we can put on the safety of the men and the women who protect this county. What price can we put on the safety of our county? With an office that is hiring people with zero experience, this means we want you to retain every single
Keith,
employee we have
Ms.
to
Keith.
train these people.
Ms. Keefe, you can provide us your comments. Thank you very much.
We need better pay for all sheriff's office employees.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay. Okay, we're going to move into a public hearing. To hold a public hearing for the purpose of obtaining comments and support on the need for ambulance service in Granville County. This hearing is for the purpose of that. The comments from the public on the need for additional EMS services. Are there any comments at this time from the public? At this time, I'd like to recognize Jason Rivas, Emergency Management Director, for a brief overview.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and fellow commissioners. Thank you for letting me here speak tonight. Currently in Granville County, we have one BLS franchise. For those who may not know, BLS is basic life support. They operate in Granville County, and that is North Central Medical Transport. Their franchise operates during regular business hours, Monday through Friday. Myself as EMS Administrator / Emergency Management Director, the County Manager, the EMS Director, the hospital CEO at the time, Mr. Snow, the hospital CNO, and the EMS Medical Director met on January 4th and discussed the need for additional franchise in Granville County. We had a lengthy discussion, and all of us basically with unanimous consent that we did indeed need another franchise in Granville County. Discussion with the hospital, frequently we have patients who have to stay in the hospital longer than required, waiting on transport back to their residence. Example, this would be like if someone gets discharged late Friday night, it may be Monday before they get taken home. Unless we pull an ALS truck off the road that's responding to the citizens of Granville County to take that person back. At times, like I said, this could be up here 48 hours or more. My office is EMS Administrator. We get a lot of calls trying to find help to get people home or to get people to their doctor's offices. And at this time, you know, North Central stays busy, and they're not able to just take all the calls, so which leads people to where they're not able to make their medical appointments or end up calling 911 service, Granville EMS, to take them to the hospital to be treated there. Myself, I reviewed the application for Bertie Ambulance Service and found it to be complete. Just to make a note, Bertie Ambulance Service is willing to relocate their facility in Warren County to Granville County, so we'd have faster response. And they're also looking to have a franchise that operates 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year. All notice of this public hearing was sent out as outlined in North Carolina General Statute 153A-250. Copies of the application were made available upon request at the County Administration Office. Ms. Atkins, Carol Atkins, which is the General Manager of Berting Ambulance Service, is available this evening to provide comments about the ambulance franchise application. And you should have a copy of that franchise application in your packet. I also want to mention Adam McConnell, the current acting CEO of Granville Health, is also here to may answer some questions if you have any concerning EMS that I may not be able to answer. And that's all I have unless you have any questions.
Okay. Not at this time. Any board members have any questions of Mr. Reeves this time? Anyone wishing to speak, come to the podium and state your name and address in the record on behalf of this proposal. I have a Jesse Curran. Okay. State your name, address, and your purpose, please.
My name is Jesse Curran. I live at 614 North Country Club Drive in Oxford. As Carrie, my wife and I have had North Central Medical Transport for 16, pretty soon 17, going on 17 years. We've had a franchise in Granville County that whole time. The past few months, it was renewed. The franchise agreement was renewed and accepted. It contains a provision for Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. This arrangement has worked for both parties until now. And I'm not sure what happened now. I mean, the hospital didn't grow, and anyway, I don't know what caused that to happen. We did not participate in the $18.39 million budget as Granville Medical Center. We do not participate in the $17.4 million budget as of 911. We bear all the expenses of our operations. We gain nothing by not transporting and losing revenue. That's not in our business plan to lose revenue. The problem we're having is hiring qualified and credentialed employees. The chief of the OEMSMC has given approval for companies like ours to use non-credentialed drivers so as to bridge a gap and put more trucks on the road. I say this only to express that we're not the only problem, only company having that problem. I've interviewed 2 people and neither one would pass the insurance requirements that our company needs and we have to abide by. We're not giving up. We're trying as hard as we can. We're doing all we can do. We just have limitations with people. We have the equipment, but we don't have anybody drive and run it. Thank you.
Thank you, and board, you can, if you decide at a later time to call Mr. Curran back to ask him any questions, you may do so. Keegan Rapp.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to give the remainder of my time back to you because I intended to sign up for public comments, so I signed the wrong sheet.
Okay, what's it for something else?
He signed the wrong sheet. He didn't sign.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Thank you. Is anyone else here present to discuss this? The board? Yes, ma'am. Would you come to the front?
Introduce what the ambulance service.
Can you please come front, please, introduce yourself and give us name and address?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Carol Atkins. I'm the general manager for Bertie Ambulance Service. I do not reside in Granville County. I reside in Bertie County, where the corporate office is located. We have been in business since 1996, serving the northeastern quadrant of North Carolina. We have had an office in this particular area since 2008. We served Vance County, and in 2000, when they changed their franchise ordinance, we moved to Warrenton. Warrenton is a little bit closer than we would like to our existing Roanoke Rapids office, so we're looking to branch out over in this area. We are already franchised in Person County and have been since, I think, 2016, 2017. We have served both BLS and ALS capacities. We are interested in the possibility of returning to ALS status if we are able to relocate to Granville County. That, and I'm going to concur with Mr. Kearns, that will be contingent upon our ability to hire the professionals that we need in order to be able to operate advanced life support services. We do have a number of employees currently who drive from Oxford to Warrenton to work with us, and we have a number who, when we left Vance County, chose not to have to drive to Warrenton, who have said that they would rejoin our forces if we were to move out in this area. So we do have some options of being able to grow. We currently have 18 employees in the Warrenton office, all of whom have indicated that they are willing to come back to in this direction to serve Bertie Ambulance Service out in this area of North Carolina. We have also been contacted. I'm not sure if you're aware of the North Carolina Medicaid managed care brokerage system that exists now. Instead of North Carolina Medicaid patients being able to call their own transportation and set that up for doctor's appointments and dialysis, et cetera, they have to call a managed care system, United Health, WellCare, Motive Care, MTM. The managed care broker is the one who sets up the transportation. They have trouble finding transportation in this area. We've been called from the Windsor office to see if we could transport patients out of Caswell County and Person County. And we know that there is a dearth of ambulance services in this area, so we're trying to provide an additional resource to what already exists.
Thank you very much, ma'am. If the board has any questions, why don't you sit up front there, and if they want to ask you any questions, they can. Do any of the commissioners have any questions of Mr. Rivas, Mr. Curran, or Ms. Atkins?
Yes, sir, I do. I wanted to know how many ambulances they have for each, I guess, operation that they would be able to use.
Which company?
Either one. Both.
So if you could present, Ms. Atkins, to the board, what is your rotation system, what your hours of operation would be, and so forth?
Our hours of operation, as indicated in the application, would be 24/7. We are used to being in operation at all times. Christmas Day, Easter Sunday, we still have a crew on staff. Typically on a holiday, there are not going to be any doctor's appointments. There are not going to be any dialysis visits as well. So we do run a shoestring staff at that time. But we have 7 vehicles, 7 ambulances that are staffed in the Warrenton office. Those would be moving here. We're looking at adding at least 2 additional of those. We're currently seeking some used ambulances since when we went to look for new ones, they said that we were 3 years out on a waiting list. In addition to providing ambulance service, we also provide wheelchair van transportation, and we have 2 wheelchair vans that are available for that.
What's his last name? Thank you, ma'am. So I think it kind of helped the public, we just kind of, Jason, can you kind of explain the purpose of the having more than one service and the benefit it brings to the county in regards to ALS and BLS?
So the BLS terms for is more concerned like convalescent transports. It is allowing our citizens to be able to get to their doctor's appointments, for one, without having to pull a truck, an ALS truck, Advanced Life Support, which is what Granville Health runs, off the road to do that. Also allows the hospital to transport BLS patients from Granville Health to maybe a tertiary facility, Duke Durham Regional. It also allows the convalescent patients, bedridden patients like would be at a nursing home or skilled nursing facility to be able to get back. And that's where we run into a lot of our issues is especially after hours and on weekends where these people are sitting there tying up a bed in the ER that could better be used serving for the hospital to be able to treat.
So while they're tying up the bed at the ER, are we actually dispatching ALS at times to remove patients rather than BLS because BLS is not available?
That might be something that Adam could more explain, but I do know at times that they do have to pull trucks off the road to take people home.
Huh? Do you want me to know?
Yeah.
Adam, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yep, Adam McConnell, the interim CEO at Granville Health System.
So, what is your opinion of this?
Yeah, so we're excited to have an additional provider for BLS services in the county. As Jason mentioned, there are times where certainly the patients have to wait through the weekend or through the night for transport from the ER, whether they're going home or going to another facility. So certainly having more access during the week and during the weekends and nights is very valuable to us.
So I don't want to make an assumption, but I am, and if I'm wrong, correct me. This will allow us to have actual wagons, ALS, our most needed services on the road and not tied up at locations transporting patients. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So it's a benefit to the county at no additional cost to the county?
That's correct.
Okay. Does the board have any other questions?
Yeah. When you said additional services, is current service included in this or excluded?
So yes, Mr. Kern's service would stay. It would be 2 BLS franchises now where it's just one operating Monday through Friday during the day. So it was go to 2, one during the day and then be 2 24 hours a day.
But he made the statement that they're under a contract for Monday through Friday.
So they have a franchise that they're Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Okay, so why would be the difference between his contract and the Bertie contract?
So the Bertie contract is going to be 24 hours a day.
Right.
So the patients that need to go home after hours or early morning transports,
we have more services.
They'd be able to get there.
But did we come up with the contract because he said that wasn't is that the hours of his contract? Or is that the hours that we told him that we would go with?
So when you originally got your franchise, did you choose your hours or was it dictated towards you? This happened way before.
I know, because they didn't want to do anybody else.
Yeah, I mean,
It was dictated.
County manager, go ahead.
I think I can fairly say that if any franchisee for basic life support transport services wanted to go to 24/7, that we would be happy to have more than one 24/7 basic life support transport service.
Thank you, County Manager.
And how many vehicles does he have?
Mr. Curran, Commissioner's asking, how many vehicles do you have for transport? 4. Ms. Atkins, how many vehicles do you have for transport?
7 plus 2 wheelchairs.
Okay. So we can expect that as this services is added, that our services for our citizens would be increased dramatically. Am I correct, Mr. Rivas?
Yes.
Okay. I have some recommendations here, if the board wants to go ahead.
What would be the determining factor on who got called first?
It's working with private companies, so it would be
Up to the
whoever, because like sometimes they have contracts, like I think Mr. Kern has a contract with Brentwood that he takes care of their patients, getting them back and forth. So it would be up to the business or the citizen that needs the service to contact whoever they choose.
Okay. Any other questions by the board? County Manager, any other comments?
This is an odd comment, but inadvertently, we have left off the agenda the actual ordinance that is supposed to be adopted if the board chooses to move forward. So if it is the board's pleasure to move forward, we would bring that ordinance back to the April 3rd meeting. But I didn't want to get in the way of the conversation about it in general.
Okay, and then what I'd ask you to do when we get to recommendations in, that you would make sure whatever motion we make, that you would include that as attached to that. The recommendations, if I read this correctly, is from the county manager. The county manager and emergency management director recommend, and the Granville County Board of Commissioners deemed there's a need for additional EMS and franchise in Granville County. The county manager and emergency management recommend that the Granville County Board of Commissioners grant Bertie Ambulance Service a franchise to operate on the BLS Granville County. So at this point, what is the pleasure of the board in regards to those recommendations? Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't know this matter was coming before the board, and I haven't had a chance to review it. These things have been carefully reviewed in the past, and I would ask that any formal action be delayed until the next meeting until we can review this and make sure it's compliant with the terms of the ordinance.
Very good. Then we will close this item. Mr. Wren, is that what you'd like for us to do?
Sure, I have no concerns with the request of the application. I just want to make sure that the actual adoption is done in accordance with our ordinance and in accordance with applicable law.
Will that be a situation where we need to call these, the same body of persons back to when we act upon it?
I don't know that, I mean, if you close a public hearing, I don't know that they need to provide any additional information that we can't get from them to make sure that the ordinance is complied with.
Okay, very good. Does the board have any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I guess just for my clarification, I just want to know if indeed North Central wanted to go 24/7, is that an option that can be negotiated with the county? Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yes, sir. Are there any other comments by anybody else on the board, understanding that Mr. Wren would like to review the ordinance and look at this again more thoroughly before a final decision is made? If not, I'm going to declare this matter, the public hearing closed, and this matter will be reopened at the next board meeting. Thank you for attending tonight, Ms. Curran, Mr. Atkins, Mr. Curran, and Ms. Atkins. Thank you, and Adam. If I could have Jennifer Griffin, if you don't mind, come forward, please. And the purpose of this is to reappoint the county assessor and tax collector. And Mr. Cummings, if you give us a brief background on this, please, and what's that? Okay, they'll do it now.
Yeah.
Okay, the county manager recommend the reappointment of Jenny Griffin as an assessor and tax collector. After reappointment, she will take the oath of office. So thank you. Does anyone have any discussion regarding that? I need a motion regarding Mrs. Griffin's reappointment.
Move to reappoint, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I wouldn't know why the baby's not holding the Bible.
I know, right? We want to see the baby.
We want to see the baby. They have to post it.
Do you, Jennifer S. Griffin, solemnly swear that you will support and maintain the Constitution and the laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therein, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of your office as assessor and tax collector of Granville County, North Carolina, and that you will not allow your actions as an assessor or tax collector to be influenced by your personal political friendships or obligations, so help you God. Thank you.
Your son next. There's 2 copies. Well, we want her up here.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
You want to pass her around.
It made this for the skinny guys, didn't it? Unfortunately.
We have moved there too. Or you draw. We're going to make move because we're getting excited.
Do I need to do this?
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Yeah. Okay.
I turned the page.
Yeah. The term is what I was saying. I got it. Mr. McNally and County Manager, the next item is to update the countywide CEI copier contract. If we could have some background on that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a comprehensive renewal and update to our printer and copier contract with CEI, and I'll invite Mr. McNally up to make any further remarks, and the representative from CEI is also here to answer any questions the board may have.
Mr. McNally.
Well, I really didn't have a whole lot to say on it, other than the fact that we've had a relationship with CI since probably the late 90s, and had really good customer service, and they've always been attentive to our needs, and very responsive. I think the department heads can attest here that when we've had problems with copiers, they've responded very quickly to service issues.
County Manager recommendation?
Recommend approval.
Okay. We have any, can I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
move that we accept county manager's recommendation on this issue.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. McNally. The next item is LinkedIn online learning subscription, and I'll ask the county manager to address that.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. LinkedIn Learning is an online training and professional development platform. Had the opportunity when I worked in Durham to take advantage of it, not as a county employee, but as a library card holder of the Durham Public Library. And when I arrived here in Granville County, I asked our library director about it. He was excited about the prospect of offering this service both to our employees and to county residents with a library card. It's a really high-quality online platform with thousands of trainings. The overall cost to try this service out for the county and all library card holders is $13,000 approximately, and we're looking forward to seeing how much usage we can generate amongst employees and residents of Granville County, and just excited about this trial run.
Okay, County Manager. In the recommendation, county manager recommends that the library system recommend approving a one-year agreement to enable access to LinkedIn Learning video training courses for the card holders. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to say with enthusiasm, having known people to use this service, that it's a great thing for us to do for our citizens. At the cost, I think it's just a great, great deal. So with that in mind, I move that we accept the county manager's recommendation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Is this the one here?
Mr. Chair, if I may have a moment, for those of you who have been on this side and around, you probably see me playing on my computer. I actually wasn't playing. I was looking at Coach Cannon and the UNC School of Government websites on ETJ laws. So that's a good source of research if you want to look into what you can and can't do. Thank you.
I'm gonna hold here just for a second. Sheriff, you're coming up next, sir. Keegan, I missed you for public comment, so I'm going to provide you the opportunity to provide those. Introduce us and provide folks with your name and title and so forth.
Yes. So good evening, Mr. Chairman, Board, Administration. As you know, my name is Keegan Rapp. I live on 203 Grove Street. For those of you who do not know me, hello, I'd be happy to change that. Happy to be here to talk to you all a little bit about some of the things that the library is offering, because as a Lead for North Carolina Fellow, it has been awesome to be able to learn about local government in a variety of different locations. That is what I've been doing this year. And so I just wanted to give you a little bit about that. So I started in the county administration office, and I've been working in the library system for the better part of this year. And I have to tell you that your library staff at your county libraries are amazing people. They're some of the most helpful people I've ever encountered. If you've ever asked a librarian a question, you know that you've probably gotten into more than you bargained for, because you'll probably get more than the original question that you asked for. During my time at the library, I contacted about 50 plus organizations, individuals, to try to build some more partnerships and do some outreach for our library system. One of the biggest projects includes our new Farm to Fridge program, which is an initiative that the Granville County Library took to install refrigerators into our county libraries, so that individuals, farmers can donate to the library fresh produce so that our food insecure community members have some access to affordable, nutritious options in their life. So that has been a very rewarding thing. I'm happy to say that we do have partners, and if you walk into any of our libraries, we're getting Stovall off the ground right now, but if you walk into Oxford or South, you'll see that, and that's what that is. So if you know anybody, please feel free to donate. We'd be happy to connect you to that. The other thing that I was able to do was I contacted some of the people in Oak Hill about the Express Library that we have up there. So if you live around there, you can call in and they can ship a book directly to where Oak Hill is so that it shortens your commute time to pick up those books. And you can do that by calling the library. Also, I would like to put a shout out to the director of your library system. This is Will Robinson. He came here today also in support of the LinkedIn Learning System, which he's been trying to implement, and we've been doing really good at that. He's been an awesome mentor to me. He showed me how to be a department head, showed me how the budget works for a department. It's actually really interesting, I found out. Maybe some of you do not share that sentiment, but numbers are really interesting to me. I have about 10 seconds left, but I would like to plug our Granville Athletic Park Sponsors mural. If any of you know anyone who is passionate about parks and recreation and giving back to the community, we are looking for donations for that program because we are trying to expand opportunities at the Granville Athletic Park and make sure that it stays in good, solid condition. Thank Assistant County Manager Karina Weichel for giving me the opportunity to be a fellow, and thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for allowing me to speak, even though I signed the wrong place.
Thank you, Keegan. Appreciate it. Thank you for your information. Ms. Inman is going to have to take care of a matter briefly. I'm just going to pause and not take a recess, but just pause briefly and wait for her. I don't think it's necessary that we take a formal break. It should be only a few moments. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? You want to let her finish? You want Keith to finish her statement? Want Keith to finish her statement? If you want her to. Yeah. Ms. Keith, you may come forward, please. At this break here, I'll allow you to finish your statement. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Just a moment here. We find ourselves in a crisis at this point. We currently have the same number of deputies patrolling in 2023 that patrolled in 1995. 3 deputies to a shift covering 60,000 residents, 563 square miles. We have deputies answering 20 to 25 calls each shift independently. As I stated before, I did not vote for the sheriff that is in office. I do not always agree with his methods, but what I do agree with is the fact that we must support the people underneath him. Regardless of who sits in that seat, the people underneath him deserve and have deserved better, and this problem did not start in November of last year. It started long before that. I would say the final switch may have drawn with the change in leadership, but the reality of it is anybody that has any value for themselves or their life will not want a career here in Granville County. I stand before this Board of Commissioners and ask that each of you consider what the price is that we can put on the safety of these men and women. What price do we put on the safety of our county with an office that is hiring people with zero experience to train? That means we will need to retain the experienced employees that we have to train these people. I ask you, on top of the fact that they have daily tasks to do already, I ask you all to understand and see that these men and women, the ones who have stayed and who have literally carried us this county since 2019 have done so with great professionalism while under tons of scrutiny. Many of these people, especially our veteran employees, deserve to be paid their value, and they deserve the compensation for the loads of extra work and burden that they have carried over the last few years, and especially now in the state that our office is in. We must prepare for our future. We must start building a place where people feel safe. We cannot sit around with the attitude of, well, you signed up for this job any longer. We cannot do like we did in December and punish longtime employees by giving them smaller amount of raises. It's simply unfair. Seniority should matter, and especially in times like this when they are literally the backbone of what is carrying us. This all sends a message to new generations coming in that your commitment and loyalty mean nothing to this county. My husband works for local government in another county, and the difference in the way they are treated is mind-boggling, to say the least. If our county is at a place where we can't afford what I'm guesstimating is probably a few hundred extra $1,000s a year to pay the people who have the most important job here, the agency that carries the most responsibility more than any other law enforcement in this county, then we need answers as to why. We need answers as to where these funds are going, what takes prominence over the safety of this county. We should always be looking ahead and wanting to ensure that we are prepared for growth. We need to show a stand behind the men and women who stick their life and their neck on the line for us every day. It is only then that this community and others may take interest and will find interest in us as a respectful and steadfast place for employment. We need better pay for all employees. I stand before Sheriff Fountain as well and ask him.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay. Sheriff Fountain, sir, if you could make a presentation regarding the purchase of tactical equipment and suppressors.
Good evening. I come to you humbly, as I know how sometimes, and some of my pastor friends know that's hard for me at times. But we are looking to purchase some suppressors for the new weapon systems we're about to utilize. Suppressors are key and critical in the execution of the duties in which we are forced to utilize sometimes. Currently, we have 4 suppressors that do not fit the new rifle systems that we're going to utilize at the next meeting when we're purchasing the other weapon systems. Because of the cycle of operations of the AR-15s we have now, we've started to notice some issues with the firing or some interruption of those 8 cycles of operation. So we're moving forward with transitioning to a new weapon system that's going to be more efficient, and those suppressors will only fit the weapons that we currently have. The ones that we have now cannot be surplus. They can be given to another agency, or they die with us. Certain weapons that we have will die with us. They will not be transferred anywhere else because of the federal firearms license and laws to those weapons. Those 4 suppressors that we have are in that category. So we can transfer them to another agency that they will fit, but we're trying to maintain some of the stuff we have until we get our new things in. And then we will look at surplusing them to another law enforcement agency or having them destroyed. I ask for your consideration.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff. Board, Sheriff Fountain recommends the approval for the purchase of equipment outlined in this request, amount of $19,385. I will note to the board that when you read the term suppressor or silencer, it is interchangeable, one of the same. The quote, I will tell that this information that we have here is that the county manager has confirmed the funds are available for purchase and that the sheriff's office has followed the appropriate Granville County purchasing policy and applicable laws. So what is the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, so this money that we're looking at buying new rifles, new suppressors, new vehicles, new. Is this not money that can be used toward paying these officers the money they deserve?
These funds are coming out of the Department of Justice funds. So what we're going to look at is now myself and the county manager have been looking at it, and Ms. Weichel have been looking at it.
Excuse me, Sheriff, and thank you very much, but the funding for this is available through the Sheriff's Office capital outlay funding.
Yes, sir. And the weapons, vehicles, and things she was mentioning, got it. I was including all of that. So the majority of the stuff we're gonna buy, the larger purchases, will come out of DOJ money, the firearms that we're looking at. These are coming out of county money with outlay, correct? But everything else we're looking at is gonna come out of our DOJ funding. And then we're gonna repatriate some of the monies from the rifles that we're going to sell back into our Department of Justice money as well. So what we're doing is working with the county manager and Ms. Weichel to start looking at funding to where those dollars would come from. So even if I used $100,000, because right now, it takes $16,573.08 to bring 7 new hires up to $40,000. Then it would take $29,526.87 to bring 10 deputies with 2 years or more to $47,000. It would take $74,854.76 as a cost of living adjustments for our senior employees, like she was discussing, and that are under my leadership, to bring them to a fair market price. So we're doing those pay studies and we're doing the work. So now we just got to look at where those numbers are. Mr. Bayless is working with the finance director as well for us to look at those things to see how we can utilize the monies that are in our budget so we don't have to beg for nothing to get anything until the next budget year. So we are doing those things.
I don't think it's a question of begging the sheriff. It's a question of you came to our retreat and you said you needed money, but you didn't have you had absolutely no proposal. This board took action back in November to help with retention, and it's clearly outlined. I think the county manager has a document on it. I don't think this board is arguing that we need to do something about the county pay. No doubt about it.
Right.
That would be done. Let me finish here, please, sir. But at this point, we just went through it. You came to see us on February 20th, and as you said, I need money. And then you gave us a fragment of a organizational chart, and then on top of that, you didn't provide for us precisely where or how we would have to do that. So we tasked our county manager and our assistant county manager to begin working on a process to how we can get to fixing something without a Band-Aid. A Band-Aid won't work. Band-Aid doesn't fix it. This is a systemic problem throughout the United States, law enforcement pay. It's just not unique to Granville County. And so what we want to do as a board collectively is we want, I'll let you speak in just a second, Mr. J. What I want to do as a chairman, and others can speak for what they want to do, is we want to come up with a solution that works long term, that includes not just from salary perspective, but compensations, 401ks and things of that nature. So I think if we can work together, we can find some good solutions. I think it's very possible that we can do that. But you know, we met with you, and that's what you told us. And so we did not have any information beyond that from you.
So if you would review the budget submissions that I proposed to you, some of those things about positions were in there. And I openly told you that day as well what Oxford PD was starting to do about raising their salaries to 47. So Vance County has done the same thing to 48,000. So we are losing people. It's a numbers game. When we started and we took the insurance away from employees, that was a carrot for us to retain people. So there are only 19 of our deputies that can have insurance when they retire. So that was the catalyst.
When did that occur, Sheriff?
2 years ago.
2012. Yeah, when?
How long ago? Anybody got y'all insurance? I think Chris Hester was the last one that we hired.
2014, 2016, when the county cut off.
Right. So we're talking about a long-term decision that was made many years ago, correct?
So that decision is impacting us today, moving fast forward. So these young men that are leaving the Granville County Sheriff's Office don't look at the insurance, they look at the dollar. They look at who's gonna pay them the money. We trained them for 2 years, we paid them $38,000, they go across the street and make 47. So again, it's this thing of this conversation that we're having. You can throw it out all you want to, but the bottom line is they're gonna look at the X's and O's on their paychecks.
All right, I don't think I don't think you'll have a disagreement that we need to do something. I think we've got to do it the right way. And if we don't do it the right way, we're going to have this conversation again. And Mr. Cummings, where are we actually at in compensation based on the November monies that were provided by the county? On November 6th, I believe, the county took action to assist in retention of detention officers and law enforcement officers. And I think that included a $5,000 bonus, am I correct? For employees making under $50,000.
Yes, that's correct. It's a little more complicated than that. And actually it was at the December 5th board meeting. I think the header on that sheet was a little off. But it was the board meeting right before the election that commissioners approved. I believe the detention bonuses were already in place. But what we passed that night was a $5,000 retention bonus for deputies making $50,000 or less. $5,000 recruitment bonuses for those who came on before January 1st, and $1,500 bonus for Sheriff's Office sworn employees making over $50,000 a year.
Okay, in fairness to the sheriff, the topography has changed. It's changed dramatically with other departments, and some of those within Granville County, and we acknowledge that, Sheriff. And so that's my comment for now. Mr. J.
My comment is, please, let's get on with this motion, whatever we want. We've been a motion on the floor and the second, and then we went on with other stuff. Let's clear up this first.
This is discussion of what he asked for.
It's not as clear, but it's a different thing when we asked for top of the year.
Okay, we'll do that, Mr. J. Do we have a first and second on that? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed?
I am.
Okay, and one opposed. Motion passes.
So while we have the sheriffs here, are we gonna have an opportunity?
Yes, the Sheriff, would you like to engage in this conversation regarding compensation for your?
No, we can go in closed session to discuss that, and I have a breakdown of every employee that works with us right now.
I don't think we can do it in closed session, Sheriff, but I think there's some questions to be asked, and.
Does it have to do with the motion on the floor, what we asked on the agenda?
I don't understand. Do you not want to talk about it?
No, I'm asking a question. Does it have to do with these weapons or supplies?
No, that just passed.
Okay, cool.
That just passed. In fact, I think everything that you brought before the board, Sheriff, to date, has passed, to include vehicle purchases for asset forfeiture funds, to include vehicles from, to the general fund. I think you have a body scanner now as well at the jail. So I think the board has passed most, I think, I could be wrong, but I think the board has been very supportive of your efforts so far.
So let's go.
So just a quick question. At the retreat, it asked for the span of your control, command and control, what your personnel solutions looked like.
Yes.
With the actual saying of how many people in each position.
Yes.
The chart that you provided us at the retreat was just basically 13 slots. It didn't have any enumeration as to how many deputies or personnel were in each slot.
That has been done. The county manager has it, and we are working on that as well.
Okay, that was my question.
Yes,
I was
sir.
just curious as to when we were going to have it.
Yes, sir.
Outstanding. Thank you very much.
Does that include, now, have you reduced the number of deputies with the add-on of administrative personnel?
No.
So your overall allocated deputies are still the same?
Still the same.
Okay, excellent.
And we just had a hiring exercise this past Saturday where we have, and to Mrs. Keith's credit, we did hire 4 of which have been to BLET. We hired Mr. Hawkins, that came from Wake County. He started with us on Friday. And then today we got 3 more in the selection pool where I talked to Miss Angela Miles to get them on board before the 16th. That was the first of the month. So we're going to bring on a total of 8 at this first of this month.
Okay.
4 of which, again, have been to BLET.
So are these patrol? What are these?
All patrol.
Sheriff, you were talking earlier, you'd like to present something and work with the board in regards to a pay proposal. Board, I'm open to having that discussion with the county manager how he would like to arrange that with the board.
He has a copy right now.
Or he can prefer to do that with the county, assistant county manager and himself and the sheriff, and then come back to the board and bring us a proposal. I really want to leave that up to you.
I would say that we're really just getting into our budget process right now. We've had a couple of preliminary meetings, and we have a lot of additional detail to work through before we bring kind of full-on recommended budget, including, pay plan and position changes for every department to you. And that's due to you all, I believe, on May 1st, I think, is the manager's recommended budget.
Okay. Does any other board member have any question or comment for our sheriff?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say we see how this is playing out as we look at all the law enforcement agencies. And as our county manager say, I think work with our sheriff, as we enter into this next budget year, we have to consider what some of our speakers have said about looking out for those people who put their lives on the line. And, I, for one, am ready to do that, and I'll surely look forward to guidance from our county manager as to how we can tackle this.
I think I can answer this uniquely from the board, sitting from the position I sat for many years. I understand what it's like to work that job, and I can tell you that I am wholeheartedly in support of doing some substantial things for our sheriff's department in regards to compensation. It's clearly that right now that we've got a ways to go, but we got to do it. We got to get it done. But we want to make sure when we do it that we're not sitting here a year from now having that discussion again. And our primary responsibility as commissioners is the fiduciary responsibility to our county residents to make sure that we make financial decisions that they're in the best interest of all the county, and that we can manage them appropriately, so that if we can avoid things such as a tax raise or something like that, then we do our very best to do that. So I think the recommendation from the county manager is that he can work with the sheriff and begin working with him immediately. And if the further crisis occurs, then the county manager will do what he can to get back with us and get us as much information as he can, so that if we have to adjust in midstream again, then we adjust, as we did in December. Is that the board good with that? We continue to make adjustments as we need to make them?
No doubt about it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Sheriff, I'll allow you, sir. Any further comments?
I just want people to understand that these young men and women of the Granville County Sheriff's Office put that uniform every day to protect this community. I'm going to get emotional about this thing, so I'm going to stop talking. But I will fight for them. I will stand for them. And anybody that doesn't want to support them, then we are probably not on the same page of what public safety really means. So when people talk about defunding the police, and people talk about the things that we wanted to do or the things that they say about us and the way that we do our business, we actually see that that is not the case, because I'm sitting here trying to fight for my guys and my ladies. I'm here standing up for them. No matter what it is, I told them it's about them and not about me. I don't care if you give me a dime, I'm good. But these individuals that serve this county deserve your consideration, not in May, not down the road. We're losing people right now. So I gotta hire people that aren't trained. I gotta do it because of the fact, as soon as I don't have 3, like Ms. Keefe said, which has been happening for 2 years, then you're gonna ask me those different questions. What are we gonna do now? The urgency of now is now, period. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
I know that was a closing remark, but the vilification of this board.
I didn't call no names, sir.
I'm just saying the vilification of the board, of the commissioners, whether it be the sheriff's office, the school system, the school board. You've heard the school board talk about those nasty commissioners. We just left the community college and they've asked us for money. The hospital needs money. The fire departments need money. Money, money, money.
They got to fight for theirs. I'm fighting for mine.
I understand that. But on the same breath that people say, pay them, pay them, pay them, they say, not my taxes, not my taxes, not my taxes. So this board's fiduciary responsibility is to do the absolute best that we can for our citizens without breaking the bank. Because we could hit $1, the maximum state allowable from a tax standpoint in a skinny minute. Because I would love to pay your people, the school system, everybody who serves in a community aspect. Our ambulance drivers, Wake County just announced that they're just graduated the biggest class I've ever had for EMTs, and their start $27 an hour. I mean, wouldn't that be great for Granville County to do that? And I would love to do that. I would love to be out here making it rain for all of our employees. But to do that, I'd have to take money out of every pocket that our citizens had. So when this board's vilified, it stings. A lot of people think that this Board of Commissioners has got Everlast tattooed on their forehead, and that we gave up our right to have an opinion or speak our mind or call something out when people are being either not so nice. And I do sometimes use inappropriate, I called somebody stupid the other day and I regret it. Didn't sleep at all last night. But the thing is, when folks have no grasp of what the actual law is, it just, to be vilified when folks think they know what's going on, and you know this, and I'm preaching to the choir, you are in that seat, and I appreciate what you do for us, but you know how it is to be vilified. I'm saying this board is vilified sometimes. So the tone and the going in to fight for your people, we're here for the same people. We all love Granville County. Mr. Hubert Gooch, served on this board for many years, said, you may love Granville County, but nobody loves Granville County more than I do. And that goes for every single one of these people on this board. So we are here to work with you, but we're not here to fight with you. Okay?
I think there's a difference in having emotion and passion for the people that you serve with than to vilify anyone. So I'm not vilified. If you feel that way, I'm sorry that you do. But I am here to say that this is what they chose me to do. I've talked to my people in a meeting 2 Fridays ago. They all have a voice. But I would rather be the one to get focused at. Their passion goes through me. I will be the one to stand for them, and I will continue to stand for them and fight for them.
We want you to do that, Sheriff. That's why you're elected to be sheriff. We want you to do that. The bottom line is that, they have a sacred job in protecting all of us. I get it. I get it personally. Okay? We will work on this. We will work on this passionately. We will do what we need to do, the best we can do, adjust as we can adjust as this board comes together and makes decisions on how to do that. We're not ignorant to the fact that Oxford went up to $48,000. Henderson went up to $48,000 and Oxford went up to $47,000. We're not ignorant to that. We're not ignorant to the other Butner and Creedmoor in the mid-40s, so we're not ignorant to it. We try to make an adjustment to help the first of the year before I think the December, as the county manager was talking about. And unfortunately, it is a moving target. It is free agency out there. That's just the bottom line. But I will assure you that everyone on this board is concerned, and we will accept your challenge. That we are concerned, and we will do what we can within our ability to reach some type of an agreement to get something moving forward. However, you got to work with us. And walking in front of a podium and saying, I need money, boom, ain't the way to do it.
Well, my style is mine, and yours is yours.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm just saying, if you want to bring a proposal, Mr. Cummings is here for it.
So Mr. Cummings has that information in front of him?
When did he get that?
He had it today, and we talked about it last week, sir. Was it last week we got together and we started discussing this? Or 2 weeks ago? Yes.
The board has not seen it. So when the board sees it and the county manager gets it to us and we begin to look at it, then the board can start making decisions and start doing what we feel is best on behalf of your employees, who are also our deputies, who we also care about. I care deeply about everyone that puts on a uniform. So, and there should be no question about that. I have the career to prove it. So.
Mr. Chairman, I have another statement to make, and I understand you're fighting for your people. You have to remember, every single person that works for this county, be they volunteer, whether they're working under you, all are under us for their paycheck. And they're all coming to us, the fire department, saying that they need, and their lives are just as important as your lives. I'm not saying, my daddy went every day to work with a gun on his hip. And I prayed every day that that man came home. And he never got paid what he deserved. But that doesn't mean I don't believe you deserve more money. That's why I asked, why isn't your budget being used to give more money to your people instead of buying more equipment? That was the reason I asked that question. The fire department has no option. Animal control is losing people night and day over salary. And those people are just as important. They keep our people safe from the animals. We can't even get a patrolman to work with them.
We do have one, ma'am, so that's incorrect.
When did that happen?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Okay, last meeting, but I wasn't informed on that yet.
Correct.
But there again, they need this. The library. I mean, you know how much these people have got master's degrees in library and science, and they're getting $30,000 to $40,000 a year. No, that's not. They're not going to be harmed, but they're still my people. I still got elected by those people to make sure they get paid. So I have just as much right to get upset when you start ultimating, saying you have to do this. I'm doing the best we can with our money. Your paycheck and my money.
Passion, ma'am, and I appreciate it, and that's what we're supposed to do. Be passionate about us and our communities. But I'm more passionate about mine, and I can't say again, with animal control, I work with Matt. We just did some stuff together. I try to work with everybody to help everyone. So we, as a group, have to do something collectively to make this thing work together. But I'm gonna still just be passionate about my folks, because they answer to me.
Thank you, Sheriff. I believe we can do that. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for all the board members for their passion. I think we can work together, and I think we can find solutions, and I think we can do so in a way that hopefully will help avert some of your current issues.
Appreciate y'all time and patience and consideration in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the NCDOT 2023 County Employee Litter Sweep. Jason here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. Just to announce the Granville County NCDOT Spring Litter Sweep for Friday, April 21st, 23rd. We've taken an active stance to help address litter issues in the county. Twice each year, county employees and commissioners are provided the opportunity to participate in the litter cleanup program with the NCDO Litter Sweep program. The NCDO sponsored Spring Litter Sweep begins April, concludes April 29th. I am requesting volunteers within the county government to help clean a section of road within the counties. This date will be on, scheduled date is for Friday, April the 21st, 2023, with the rain date scheduled for the following Friday. For the counties in participating as an incentive, once the participants are finished picking up the litter from the selected road, employees will have the option of not returning to work without using leave as approved by the county manager and/or employee supervisor. Additionally, employees can earn 20 points towards the wellness activities by participating. So I know many of you have participated in the past, and we typically get around 15 to 20 county employees with social services representing the largest department by participation. And we have a good time. When we do it. So hopefully this is more of a FYI, and hope to approve it and
Well,
go on with it.
thank you, Jason, and thank you. I know that many of the commissioners participated in that, and thank you very much for that. I'm going to move on to our next item, and since you're there, the Garrett Moore contract revisions and contract approval, and the purpose of the board approval of county attorney review revision amendment to Garrett Moore and contracts. In addition to this request, the staff is seeking approval to execute a contract with Garrett and Moore for preparing a permit application of a notice of intent, NOI, and stormwater pollution prevention plan for the municipal solid waste landfill. If you could give us a background, the county manager would like to, Mr. Wren, to provide any information, would be great.
Sure. We have two separate classes of contracts with Garrett. One is for the municipal solid waste landfill construction project, and the other one is for recurring annual services. Over time, these contracts were amended in a task order manner, and they were done in such a way that it was not clear which contract, it was not clear at all times, at least, which contract was being amended. It was not clear in some cases if the board had approved some of these amendments. And so what we thought we would do after reviewing them is bring it back so that you have it all before you. You have two contract amendments in front of you, one that deals with all amendments and shows you the entire budget for the municipal solid waste landfill, and another one that shows you the entire budget for the annual monitoring contract. And I'll be happy to answer any questions. You've got it in your agenda packet. It's a rather complex matter to go into detail about, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have or go into further detail if you request it.
County Manager, you've covered this with both commissioners, have you not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to go directly to the recommendations. Board, if you allow me. The recommendations the County Manager and Environmental Service Director recommend accepting the revisions and amendments made by the County Attorney with regards to Garrett and Moore contracts. Staff also respectfully request approval of the attached task number 11 at a not to exceed amount of $14,155. Task order 11 is included with the amendment to the December 7th, 2020 contract. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Karen moves to approve. Can I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Williford seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jason.
Right here.
Yeah, okay. Next topic is Mr. Rita's capacity building competitive grant. If you provide us the purpose and some background.
All right, so the background on this, Graham County, my office, Graham County Emergency Management Fire Marshal Office is looking to apply for a no match grant on behalf of Graham County to help us better prepare and respond to disasters. This building, the Expo Center, has been identified as one of our potential shelter locations, and it's one of our three main, but none of the three have generator hookups, either hookup or a generator on site. So what we're looking to do is put in for this competitive capacity building competitive grant, which is better known as CBCG, for up to $250,000 to place a permanent mount diesel generator with automatic transfer switch on the side of the building, which will be on this side, that will allow us to have one shelter that will have heat as well as cooling in the event of a widespread power outage. And it's, again, it is a no-match grant.
And you've already submitted this?
No, we haven't submitted.
Okay,
We're
so
waiting
is
for
it-
approval to submit.
There's no catch to this. Bottom line is, there's no expense put in the grant, and we either get it or we don't, and,
Yep, that's it.
okay. Recommendation, the county manager and emergency management director recommend applying for no match grant.
Motion to approve.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Next topic is the fire commission recommendation for the use of fire tax funds. I'm going to, as a commissioner, as the chair, I am also the liaison to the, fire commission, which means I'm gonna handle this a little differently because, to a large degree, I provide advice, but I do not provide, decision-making, information of things of nature. I want to try to stay as neutral as I can during these discussions with the fire department and the commission. So to do that, and so that we can have a robust discussion on this, I think what I'm going to do is just open it up for the board to have a discussion on it, and then I'm going to seek the county manager recommendation after that. So, to consider a recommendation, Jason, will you cover what the fire commission has recommended?
Yes, yes. So the Graham County Fire Commission has recommended to the Graham County Board of Commissioners a budget for fiscal year 23-24 that will provide for the 12 volunteer departments to have a part-time firefighter in their station 5 days a week, 10 hours a day. That's Monday through Friday. So, you know, they're going to be in the stations, in these buildings, when the fire departments typically have a tough time providing coverage. So, at the Fire Commission meeting on March 13th, 2023, they voted to give each of the 12 volunteer departments an additional $20,000 each for the purpose of obtaining equipment or making building modifications to be able to get this part-time staff going. This will exclude Oxford and Butler Public Safety. So basically, it's going to be a total amount of $240,000, and each of the 12 volunteer departments will get $20,000 each for that purpose.
Okay. Board, you're welcome to discuss it.
Has there been a need identified for each department? Did each department need $20,000?
So that was just, so each department had different needs. Some of them need turnout gear. Some of them need to have showers installed or showers repaired, a radio to provide for these people. So it was a different amount. That was just a kind of a number, an average number we come up with.
Okay, and when they approved the daytime drivers, was that, how was the money handled for that? Is that reimbursement or you give the money up front?
So when it comes in next fiscal year, so it will be a reimbursement. They pay it and then they submit the timesheets, or we haven't, that portion has not been figured out yet, but they will submit something back to the county to be paid out.
Okay,
That's the way
thank
I
you.
understood it.
Thank you. I just wanted to be clear on that.
And I guess my only question, Mr. Chairman, is as it relates to the $20,000, each individual department will identify what they need to do to get ready. Is that basically what would happen from each department, Jason?
So, yes, sir, the fire marshal sent out an email to them and talked to them at a fire chief's meeting, and they all give indications of the stuff they need. I mean, a lot of it was, they're hiring people to come in, so they got to have gear and stuff for them, helmets, boots, hoods, turnout gear, and radios, etc. So there is identified need there that they come up with.
Would this be on a reimbursement basis, the same as the fire, full-time, daytime firefighters?
I do not think, and Chairman Coleman here, it was said that it will be on a reimbursement. Is my understanding.
Good evening. Andy Coverth, the Chair of the Granville County Fire Commission. At our last meeting, it is to my understanding that we was recommending to give each department $20,000 in preparation of the upcoming part-time personnel that will be in these departments, hopefully come July or shortly thereafter. No reimbursement, as Mr. Revis has just said. The $20,000 will cover anything from turnout gear to a day room outfit, so the paid personnel won't have to sit in a metal chair. Some fire departments does not have shower facilities for decontamination. As a multitude, it is different per station. I do not have the list with me at this time, but I do know Ken Reeves, the fire marshal, has reached out to the departments to compile a list of data of what's needed at this time. And the 20 grand was a general figure of consensus of what would be needed to at least get started.
So and we're talking about the $20,000. We're not talking about the funding for the actual firefighters that are going to be on the vehicles. Just this is the upfront money to prepare for taking them on.
Okay, I guess the next question is to the county manager. How does this accounting procedure go? Is this in line with this past audit is what I'm really asking.
I guess at this point, county manager, just give us your recommendations.
Maybe we should see if any other commissioners have comments first, and then I'm happy to do that.
So, quick question, Jason. You mentioned about turnout gear and radios and what kind of thing. So does that mean that they're going to have firefighters from other agencies that aren't volunteers within that organization come into those houses?
Some of them probably will have to.
Well, that's awesome. That is a step in the right direction.
I mean, honestly, I don't see with people having full-time jobs now, how they will be able to staff the whole, everyone in the department. I don't see how that will happen. Some of our departments are thriving with members, up to 40 members, and some of them may, but some of them may not.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other member? I know most of the members have attended the meetings, and do you have anyone wish to make any other comment? County manager.
You did say all 12.
That's right, all 12 is what it was voted.
$20,000 all 12.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Okay. Just want to be clear.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to say that it's been a good education for me to attend nearly all of the Fire Commission meetings since I've come on board as county manager last October. I want to appreciate the efforts of the commission members, and I actually want to pause just for a second and ask the Fire Commission members who are in attendance to please stand. I think there's at least 4 here, including our chair, Mr. Culbreth.
Thank you.
It's a lot of work. And I would also like to ask the members of the volunteer fire districts who are here tonight to stand up, because they're also performing a key function for the county.
All right.
Thank you. I want to appreciate the efforts of the commission to incorporate input from the chiefs and fire department members. They've also reached out regionally and nationally and across the state, talking to many different counties in the state of North Carolina to find out more about how they operate their fire tax districts and fire protection service. And have really been working hard to figure out how we can best fund and organize and optimize the efforts of volunteer fire districts being funded with local fire tax dollars. There are important operational needs and local government principles at play here. We know that we need high-quality fire protection here in Granville County, and that providing that fire protection is becoming both more difficult and more expensive every year. I believe that those are both key reasons why we instituted the Fire Commission in the first place, and the fire district tax. This county commission are also good stewards of public money. We never spend public money, certainly not millions of dollars of it, without ensuring that it will achieve an important public purpose and that that public purpose cannot be achieved without those funds. All of the volunteer fire departments who receive funds from our fire district tax have received their base funding for this year, and that leaves a little over $700,000 in the current year dedicated to additional fire protection purposes, either in the current year or to be saved for future needs. In addition, the group has spent many months developing a standard fire contract, which we hope can be finalized in the next month or so, and have also been spending a lot of time looking at the format and types of budget and operational information that will help inform future and additional allocations of fire tax funds. As Mr. Revis and Mr. Culbeth pointed out, the Fire Commission has now recommended approval for 2 potential uses of fire tax funds in the current year. The first, as noted, was a proposal that was unanimously supported by all of the chiefs and the Fire Commission to agree to pay for the daytime weekday fire drivers at each of the stations. I think that's important. We think that'll do a lot to improve response times across the county. And the second, as noted, passed last week, was a proposal to offer each department $20,000 in the current year to purchase additional equipment, radios, turnout gear, and other furnishings required for those daytime paid staff. And here's a kind of a key observation. It is now the job of this county commission to consider this proposal and to consider whether it would like to approve, reject, or modify it. And from my vantage point, there are clearly current needs. There are also a great number of future needs, and just like the compensation for different classes of employees, it's the commission's job to weigh both of those needs. We need to complete the contracting process. That's something we're continuing to work on, and we need detailed departmental, operational, and budget information to ensure that ongoing expenditures of these fire tax funds are as targeted and as effective as possible to offer the best protection possible to our growing population. So, my recommendation is that you approve this expenditure and that additional fire tax funds be made available up to a maximum of $20,000 per department. My recommendation is that, except in cases of demonstrable cash flow issues, that this funding be allocated on a reimbursement basis for equipment, radios, turnout gear, and other furnishings reasonably needed to accommodate and equip new daytime fire drivers. My recommendation is also that any additional allocations of fire tax money in the current year be conditioned on having a signed fire contract with a department, and that moving forward into next fiscal year, that allocations of fire tax money be conditioned on having both a signed contract and the submittal of detailed annual budget information deemed substantially complete by a majority of the Fire Commission members. And just so I'm clear, I'm not attaching any strings to the $20,000 except that it be, my recommendation is that it be paid out on a reimbursement basis for known and acceptable expenditures, and that only additional expenditures of fire tax money in this year would require a signed fire contract, and that next fiscal year we would need both a signed fire contract and detailed budget and operational information from each department. And that concludes my remarks. Happy to answer any questions from the board.
I just want to say that my remarks is not about withholding the money. This fire commission is new. They're dealing with taxpayer dollars because the money comes right from the taxpayers to their account. And I just want to make sure that they're doing things in a way that complies, that they can survive an audit of any type, that they can, they're doing it in a way that the county would do it under local government standards.
I think that's a valuable observation, and I think that the reimbursement basis helps ensure that. And I also think that one of the items in the contract is that each department go through an annual review of their finances, which I think will also provide some additional protection both to the departments and to the county. That's one of the reasons that we're eager to get those contracts signed.
Mr. J. I agree wholeheartedly with you, but I would just like to say, I'd just like to ask the commissions and the fire chiefs and the farmers to look at something over. You know, you have a lot of peoples in gray areas. What are we gonna do for them? Think about it. What are we gonna do for them? Those folks are paying taxes too. Those folks need the same situation just like me. The house right right across the street from me, it's in a fire tax. Or it's in the 6 mile radius of a fire. I can throw a rock and break out the side windows of the house, but I don't. It's being fair to me. I got 4 vehicles. I'm paying $5 for my old truck taxes, but it's being fair. We need to look at that too. Okay? Thank you.
I would say to Commissioner Jay's comment is very well taken, and the trying to figure out good ways to fill in some of the gaps that are beyond the 6 mile radius from any current fire station is an important future use of these funds, and it's a good reason to be conservative with how we spend current funds.
And you know, to kind of go along with what Commissioner Jay is saying, when we first discussed having a fire tax, we were looking at these holes where you didn't have coverage. And those people were paying the same tax that everybody else is. And, you know, the idea was that the fire commission would build up a capital improvement fund that could eventually lead to fire departments having satellite divisions, having a satellite fire station that would fill these holes in. And that was a large part of why we went with this. It was the capital improvement fund. And that's where, you know, they need to look at saving money each year to build that fund to where we'll have the funds in the future to fill those gaps.
Any other commissioner like to speak in regards to the fire tax or the proposal that was made? That's actually the proposal and recommendation. Do I have a recommendation from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I really appreciate all the, I guess you could call it, real straightforward conversation. I didn't make many meetings, but I was at the meeting, and I'm so happy that everyone's opinion had the opportunity to be expressed. And I think our manager has tried to look at this from every angle. So I'm going to move that we accept the recommendation as written in our agenda packet, giving the 12 volunteer fire departments $20,000 for the purpose of obtaining equipment and making modifications to get part-time staff going.
Does that include the county manager's recommendation in regards to contract and budget?
Yes, that includes all of his comments that he made relative to that. Yes, sir.
Okay, is the board understanding the motion?
I'll second it.
Second. Do I have any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Andy, for your service to the board as the chair. I know it's not easy, and for the other commissioners and firefighters and fire chiefs who are here tonight, thanks for coming.
Thanks, sir. And can I ask one question? For the comment you were talking about the savings, hasn't the county commissioners already allotted some monies for substations?
There is some funding set aside for a multi-purpose facility and a recreation facility in the southern end of the county at this time.
Okay, I'll just make sure I still
Yeah,
understood.
yeah, but that's, again,
Be
that's,
there.
right. What we're talking about, there was more than one area within the county that we realize is lacking. So, you do realize that that's a limited amount of funds.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank y'all.
yep. Thank you. Next item. Animal Control Advisory Committee. To make appointments to the Animal Control Advisory Committee, Drew, you want to handle this, please, sir, County Manager? And then I'll add some comments as to the appointments. Okay, I'll handle it. To make recommendation appointments to function animal control, and what we're going to do is the term of Dr. Diane Dudley expired in February, and I'm going to make, I think I have to give this to you, Commissioner Karen.
I'll take over for you there, Mr. Chairman. The term of Dr. Diana Dudley, the veterinarian to the Animal Control Board, expires in February.
And so, Mr. Chairman, if I could, Vice Chair, if I could recommend Dr. Scapino of Creedmoor to be the veterinarian in that location, and to take her spot within my district, District 5, I'm recommending a Robin Aslup, A-S-L-U-P, from Wilton.
You've heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Like sign? Motion carries.
And then I have one here, an application for Dakota, excuse me, thinking Daytona. Dakota Taylor Beck, District 3 has been received for consideration. Do you have any appointments for that, Ms. Hemman? You have no openings at this time, do you? Okay. Jerry Dunn for District 7 has resigned and needs replacement. Do we have?
Yes, and I'm recommending we replace Jerry with Dakota Beck in District 3.
Okay.
He lives on the wrong side.
All right. Do I have a motion to accept?
Second.
Better have a second here. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is the Creedmoor Planning Board, extraterritorial member. The 5 representatives who reside within the city limits are appointed at large by the City Board of Commissioners, and the 3 representatives who reside inside the extraterritorial planning jurisdiction, the ETJ, appointed at large by the Granville County Commissioners. County appointees must live within 1-mile jurisdiction of the city of Creedmoor. The term of Michael J. Allen expires in March. He's willing to serve, and the Creedmoor Board of Commissioners voted to recommend his reappointment at their March 7th, 2023 meeting, along with the letter. Do I have any, what's the pleasure, Board?
I move to accept the City of Creedmoor's recommendation to reappoint Michael Allen.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye.
So just a point there, those are ETJ members that do not reside within the city of Creedmoor. There's 3 representatives who live outside of the city of Creedmoor who help set policy for the city of Creedmoor on the ETJ matters.
This is for the Funding Plan Advisory Committee for Aging. The purpose of this is to appointments and reappointments to the Funding Plan Advisory for the Aging. The committee meets once a year. Kathy May has provided a list of those persons on our recommendation. She recommends the appointment of Commissioner Jimmy Gooch as the elected official as he serves the Senior Service Committee. And I will do that one now before I go to the other ones. Do I have a motion that Mr. Gooch be reappointed?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
She also recommends Leroy, I'll read them all and we'll vote as a slate. Leroy Anderson, unless there's an objection. Leroy Anderson, Wanda Garrett, Laverta Cooper, Joanne Deshane, Tawny Ann Wheeler, and Vicky Smoke. And Kathy May is the provider. Do I have a motion that these be accepted on the advisory committee?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The Granville County Board the Granville County ABC Board to make an appointment to the Granville County ABC Board. The number of members, the 3 appointed by the Granville County Board of Commissioners. County ABC Board members shall be appointed by the Board of County Commissioners. 1 board member shall be appointed from the Southern Granville County. 1 member shall be appointed from the Central, and 1 member shall be appointed from the Northern Granville County. The term of Robert T. Williford expires in March. Other serving is William R. Crosby and Michael Smith. What is the desire of the board in regards to that position?
I move that we reappoint Rob Williford as chair of the committee.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. County Manager, your report, sir.
Mercifully, I have no additional items to discuss this evening.
Well done. County Attorney, you're up.
Thank you. I have one item that's on the agenda and then 2 add-on items. So the first item is the supplemental opioid settlement. As you all know, the Phase 1 opioid settlement was reached in 2022, and that was with the big 3 drug distributors, plus Johnson & Johnson. And in total, those funds represented approximately, I'm sorry, I'm scrolling down to find it.
It was $2 million.
About, yeah, it was a little over.
I said $500,000.
For that,
Did I say
that
$2 million?
amount, it was $3,801,052. And then recently, the
Department of Justice reached the Phase 2 settlement with 5 distributors, including CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, Allergan, and Teva. That settlement will be $3,042,621.22. The total estimated allocation to Granville County from the opioid settlements is $6,843,627.74. And those funds will start being distributed in 2022. And we've already received some of those for the Wave 1. And for Wave 2, those distributions will begin this year. Wave 1 will continue through 2038, and Wave 2 will continue through 2036, I believe. I did the math on it a moment ago, and it's a little under $500,000 a year between the 2 phases or waves. The resolution before you tonight would be to agree to amend the previous settlement agreement and join into the phase or Wave 2 settlement. So based on your prior approval of the settlement agreement, I would recommend that you agree to the amendment as well and approve the attached resolutions.
County Attorney, if you will if you'll provide a phrase for us for the actual motion, and I will have the board vote on it.
I would ask that the board approve the attached
draft resolution that's included in your agenda packet and agree to the amendment of the current settlement agreement for the opioid matter.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Second. All in favor? Any discussion?
And I'd also ask that you authorize the county manager and I to finalize those documents.
I'll add that in.
Are we well short on the participants for that group? Or are we still requesting additional participants on the opiate task force? Chairman, can you answer that one? On the opiate advisory committee? On the opiate advisory committee, are all the slots full, or are we still in need of people to take some of the slots on that? I don't mean to throw you a curve on that, and not, I don't.
Yeah. I can't remember. I thought we had 1 or 2 slots open. I have to get with Terry to be sure.
I think that committee is full.
It is full. Okay.
So we are full. Is that correct? Okay.
There's a motion on the table. I have, Ms. Hammond? Yep.
I'll make that.
There was discussion.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need to correct a record or make sure I get the record straight. Mr. Colbert asked a question regarding, some funding set aside for, the southern end of the county and for facilities and fire facilities. I think, Commissioner Karen, if I read it correctly, there was $500,000 set aside for something north and $2 million for recreation and multi-service facility down south. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so should that come up, Mr. Rivas, later? If I did not state it like that, that is the correct information. Yeah, and I apologize. I think I misstated. I apologize to the board and to those here. Anything else, County Attorney?
Yes, sir. I've got 2 additional matters. The first one involves the issue of the boundary line between Granville County and Franklin County. And you have before you draft legislation that we have worked on with Franklin County and with Representative Winslow's office. I apologize that this was not in the agenda packet, but we got it back after the agenda packet had gone to print. And also, we're still having discussions with Franklin County after the agenda packet had gone to print. So I'll just read a summary of it, and then you have the legislation there, and I'll explain that. I'm sorry, was somebody have a question? No. The legal boundary between Granville County and Franklin County was described in a session law of the 1874-1875 session of the North Carolina General Assembly. In the many years since the boundary was last legally described, the exact location of the boundary line became uncertain. Pursuant to General Statute 153A-18, entitled Uncertain or Disputed Boundary, both county boards of commissioners passed resolutions, Franklin County on March 7, 2016, and Granville County on April 4, 2016, to request that the Granville County Geodetic Survey, the North Carolina Geodetic Survey, perform a survey of the legal boundary line and present a proposed map for consideration by both counties. The North Carolina Geodetic Survey, also known as NCGS, completed a proposed survey map of the legal boundary line. The boundary line is substantially different than the boundary currently observed between Franklin and Granville counties. If observed, the North Carolina Geodetic Survey would result in the reorientation of a significant number of citizens and a substantial amount of property, primarily from Franklin County to Granville County. Pursuant to General Statute 153A-18A, if the NCGS survey map is not ratified by the counties requesting the survey within 1 year from its receipt by the counties, the NCGS survey map will become conclusive as to the location of the legal boundary line, and the chief of the NCGS must record the survey map in the Register of Deeds of both counties and the Secretary of State's office, and must notify the affected counties' governing bodies and affected property owners in writing of the reestablished boundary line. After carefully reviewing the matter, the county manager and county attorney recommend that the board vote to authorize the county manager to send a letter to Representative Matthew Winslow in support of the attached draft resolution. The legislation would delay the implementation of the NCGS boundary to allow time for the currently observed GIS boundary to be surveyed and agreed upon by the counties. The county manager and I also recommend that the county enter into an interlocal agreement with Franklin County, pursuant to which Franklin County will have the boundary surveyed along GIS lines at its cost. Granville County will have the chance to reasonably review the surveyed boundary to confirm that it follows the current GIS lines recognized by the counties as a boundary between the counties. This agreement will be brought back to the board for final approval at a later date. So just to summarize and be clear, what we're recommending is that the currently existing GIS boundary between the counties be the one that the parties cooperate in having surveyed at Franklin County's cost, and that be set as the official boundary line between the counties. Otherwise, the boundary line will be set based on NCGS's survey, which would result in a substantial number of properties and people being reorientated to Granville County from Franklin County, and that would disrupt current voting patterns, allegiances, school patterns, etc., and would also cost the Granville County a significant amount in additional services. Answer any questions you have. The draft legislation that you have before you is actually legislation that my office drafted and was sent to Franklin County for review. They reviewed and approved it, and with just a very minor couple of changes, this is a legislation that Representative Winslow plans to have introduced.
Okay. Any further discussion on the matter?
I have one question. Over the past 40 years, the Durham-Orange County line has changed on Business 70. Does anybody know how that was handled? Did they come to some type of agreement? Was it a old survey or what? But
I can't speak to Durham, and I'm trying to remember which the legislation that we have, that you have before you, was based off of another boundary line survey, and it wasn't. It may have been Orange County, and I can't remember. It was two other counties, but it wasn't Durham, so I can't speak to Durham. But this is a process that's commonly followed when there's a dispute between a disputed boundary line and the parties want to agree on a boundary. It wouldn't be in our estimation in either county's best interest to have a boundary that's never really been honored on the ground be arbitrarily set as a boundary, even if that is the actual survey line from 1874. But this is a process that would allow the counties to have it surveyed and agreed upon.
it's just that I was traveling out Hillsborough Road, Highway 70 business, and I noticed that the Durham-Orange line is this side of what used to be Libya's restaurant. And it used to be down where I think 751 comes in that area. And I remember before that, there was an old truck stop near the old motel, and it used to be down there. And I have no information on what kind of agreement they came to or how they came to find that how they ended up changing the lines so often.
I'm sorry, I can't speak to that.
Well, since Chairman May is out, do we have is any member of the board ready to make a motion at this time?
I'll make that motion, whatever he's just said.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That'll take us to, you have one more item, Jim?
I do have one more item, and I'll ask Mr. Revis to come back up for this one. This is and I'll give a brief overview since it's on my report. This is a contract matter that came up rather quickly for public notification platform. We currently use Code Red, is my understanding, and after doing some review, Mr. Revis determined that Rave Mobile Safety would provide a substantial equivalent service at a lower price. And it actually provided a better service, I believe you determined, at a lower price. And because of the tight turnaround and the need to notify the existing provider of the termination date, we were not able to get everything worked out to get this on the agenda, but we're bringing it to you now, and I'll let Mr. Revis go into detail and explain the proposal, why he believes it's better, and what the pricing terms are.
All right, so most of you are aware, we currently use Code Red notification. We send out weather alerts, with law enforcement requests, send out alerts for missing people, any hazmat incident we have. We also use it for notification of county employees of government offices closed. Even this morning, we worked with Stovall to send it out to the citizens of Stovall that basically they had a water failure and had to shut the water off, and later send it out for a boil water advisory. So that's what we currently use. Currently we pay, this year's bill will be $8,049, and that does not include several features that, or at least one feature that I believe we need, which is it's called iPause, which is an integrated public alert and warning system. So basically what that does, so if we have like an incident here, we can set it off, and with Code Red, with our current plan we have, it's just going to go to the citizens who have phones registered in this near area, for the area that we set it off. If we add iPause to Code Red, it's going to bring it up another $1,200 on top of what we currently pay. So that being said, we looked through many vendors, and the best vendor that we come up with, which was, it's not exactly a little bit lower, it's actually a little bit higher than what Code Red is, but with Code Red, we have a total of 50,000 minutes. And if we set off a full county page, that's going to use around 19 to 20,000 of those minutes. So 2 of them basically took everything we got. Anything over 50,000 is going to charge us 26 cents per minute overage fees. So looking to go to, as the county attorney mentioned, is a system called Rave. It's under the Motorola umbrella. Total price of this will be actually $9,975. This does everything that Code Red does, however, it gives us unlimited minutes. And it also gives us the included integrated iPause system, which will help, benefit in, especially like with hazmat incidences or any kind of evacuations we need to do. Currently with Code Red, I have run into it where we were close to the minutes of going over, and I basically had to make a judgment call. Yeah, that's probably not, we're probably going to have to hold off, or we're going to have to shrink the area. Like if the sheriff's department wanted to send that 10 miles, hey, we need to shrink it down to 4 miles to, stay within our allotted minutes. This would cause us not have to do that anymore, that we can get out and hopefully help find people faster and just get whatever notification messages across that we need to. As Attorney Wren said, it is a very tight timeline. It's just a little over a month that we got to have this completed. And we're coming to you after talking with Attorney Wren and Assistant County Manager Weichel this afternoon to go into a 5-year contract with them to lock in this price. Code Red, we've noticed for the past 3 years, there's basically a 5% increase every year for the past 3 years. So we're looking to go into a 5-year contract for a total of $49,875. And this will be paid out of, how we currently pay it, either out of emergency management performance grant funds or leftover contracted services funds that the medical director doesn't use. Okay, if you have any questions.
It's paid every, it's a 5-year contract.
It's a 5-year contract,
but
but we will pay it every year. Yes,
not
sir.
all at once.
Yes, it will be locked in at $9,975 a year for the next 5 years.
And it will have termination provisions. If there's a breach, if they're not performing the services, we could terminate in that event.
And I've talked to several other counties and municipalities throughout the state that use this software, and they have no complaints at all with it.
So right at 6,000 a year. 48.
No, it's $9,975 a year.
Okay, thank you.
And this is something you don't see in the budget. It's just paid for out of emergency management grant funds, as well as leftover, like I said, contract services.
Does the subscriber or data from the Code Red system propagate over to the new system?
So they consider that proprietary once we give it to them, so it stays with them. However, we've already done the preliminary work. I've got up with Sandy, with 911, the GIS, and she's already given me the information to send to them.
Okay.
We will work with Terry and our media to help us push this out in a couple weeks, once we get the system built and in place and trained. And we'll do a huge media push. We will actually we will use Code Red to send it out to help push that out to the current people who currently use it.
Okay, plan. Do you want me to continue on?
Take this one.
Okay. Does any other board member have any questions? Do you have is any board member prepared to make a motion on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I was sold on the fact that we surely don't want to be making decisions about how far we put out a notice and that kind of thing. So I move that we move forward with contracting with Rave, give the county manager and county attorney the authority to work towards that end.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we've got a motion and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, is all in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Can we keep going?
Yep. Mr. Rainey, did you have anything else?
I don't think.
Did you announce we're going to close session?
We do need a closed session for attorney-client privilege.
Okay.
Okay, so this would be a presentation by board members. Commissioner Cozart? I have no comments at this time. Mr. Gooch?
No comments.
Commissioner Jay?
At this time.
Commissioner Wilford?
I'd just like to say that I enjoyed the Veterans Appreciation Day. It was great. The chairman did a wonderful job recognizing the young man that was killed and did a wonderful job. His family was here. I say children, I apologize. The young people from Webb that read the stories under Colonel Lewis was excellent. It was an excellent program. It was my first time attending, and I will not miss any more. That's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Hinman?
I agree. The Veterans Day, the program was awesome as always. But yet listening to these young people read those letters from people from over, in combat, and they started out in the Civil War, wasn't it? And came this way, and all the way up until the wars going on recently. And it was very emotional to hear these young people find out that, letters had to be written. You couldn't just text or have an email go through. It was an actual letter that took 30 days each direction to get there and back. So that was great to know that. I've also been to the STEM meetings, both of them on the ETJ, and it was very nice to hear the comments, the people, and know that their outcome. I have also been to the fire commission's meetings, so it was nice to hear that. Thank you very much for what each and every one of you do for our county. It is our county. It's not my county. It's not his county. It's our county. And I just want to thank each and every one of you and our staff for making sure that we can do what we do and get this done properly. Thank you.
Chair May, want to wrap us up?
Okay, yes, just a few things, and then there's an item I'm going to bring up for a vote. I'm very appreciative of all the public service in the county, and I'm very appreciative of our deputies and the difficult jobs that they have. I'm eagerly looking forward to seeing how we can go about working together to do what we believe to be the right thing, to get our deputies compensated at a level that they need to be compensated at detention officers as well. And I can assure you that we'll be looking at what the sheriff does and the county manager will, and it's not vain words, but we'll work toward working with the sheriff and reaching, if the board agrees, to reaching an amenable area where we can manage this. But on another note, I'm going to bring up something for a vote here. As the board is well aware of, when it came to our equitable sharing program, that there was an investigation that occurred in regards to the handling of that by the sheriff's department. And so the public may be, why are we bringing this up now? Well, the board went through great angst and has had a lot of difficulties over the last few years. We have new leadership in the sheriff's department now, but there's some things we need to put in place to make sure that our county manager and county government are protected and are aligned, and things take place so that we do not fall back. And I'll read you an excerpt from Mr. Wren's investigative report. The lack of financial controls with regard to asset forfeiture equitable sharing program was also identified by auditors with the U.S. Department of Justice and Treasury, who in 2021, just 2 years ago, issued highly critical reports identifying numerous violations of federal equitable sharing mandates. In addition, a significant item was with regard to the federal agency partners audit was identified of a lapse of oversight by the Granville County Sheriff's Department and to include county management. Each year, the county manager has to sign a form that states, under the penalty of perjury, that everything within the asset forfeiture the equitable sharing program is precise and it's accurate. And to my knowledge, we might do a third-party audit via internal audit, but I'm not aware of an actual audit process. I think it would be unfair for our county manager, and I commend the sheriff for spending the money. That's one of the requirements, is that when you take the money in, you don't sit on it. And it was a lot of money was set on for an extended period of time. So we commend what the sheriff is doing. It's no question that Sheriff Fountain is taking the appropriate approach when it comes to spending it as available, as long as he's not or does not supplant any of the funds. So I'm making a motion tonight that our board requires a yearly audit of the equitable sharing program to ensure that when the county manager signs it, that he is not solely responsible for what's there. In other words, imagine all the financials that we have in the county, and the county manager is looking at a document, and he's solely dependent upon other people to make a determination under the penalty of perjury whether or not he's signing something that's accurate or not. It's not fair. And so I'm requesting that the board require an audit, and that audit be done. And Mr. Wren, do you have any and finally, one comment before I ask Mr. Wren to speak. The North Carolina Physical Control Act, or the Local Government Budget Act, under GS 159, requires that one thing is asset forfeiture fund is to be treated as appropriated funds. The next item is that there's supposed to be means of controls, physical controls, accounting, means to make sure that we're not things don't happen that shouldn't happen. So, Mr. Wren, do you have any further comment regarding this?
The only thing I would add is that I think it would be a good idea if the county manager and I came back to the board with a full recommendation on this, because I would have the same concerns about other federal grant programs, and I think we ought to do an inventory of what federal grants we're receiving and come back to you with a recommendation of when a more detailed review is required. Uniform guidance, which is applicable to all federal grant funds, sets certain audit requirements, but in some cases those audit requirements are perhaps higher than would be beneficial to the county, since we're dealing with those across several programs. And I think it would be a good idea if we brought this back and gave a recommendation for a consistent way to
So let's
handle
bring it back before the board at the next board meeting with for a comprehensive recommendation. I will make note to the board that the sheriff's office is adhering to policy. This board brought in a consultant to go over and work at the sheriff's department so that they could bring both the Treasury and the DEA and Justice accounts, the Justice and Treasury accounts in order, so that they would be within compliance, because they were suspended. When you fail to follow the process, your accounts are suspended, and you can lose, and there are other consequences that can occur. So, with that being said, I will withdraw my motion, I'll withdraw my recommendation at this point, with the understanding that the next board meeting, county manager, will bring back a recommendation, and Mr. Williford.
So this is from the past elected, the previous elected sheriff. This
has nothing to do, as I made very clear, Mr. Fountain's Sheriff's Department is following the process and procedures that were put in place. They're being adhered to. He has a consultant that's doing that. This is to make sure that going forward that we put in a firewall to make sure that when we have someone certify something, that they're certifying something that they know is accurate and true, and that we've done all the basic accounting principles to protect the funds and the processes so that we know that everyone's doing what they should be doing.
And Mr. Fountain, or whoever the elected sheriff is at any point in time, both the county manager and the elected sheriff have to sign that form. So any process we would put in place would be for the benefit of both the sheriff and the county manager. And again, because the federal requirements vary from agency to agency and are so specific, I would also want to look at what other grants we have, so that any other county department head and the county manager, if he's responsible for those items, is also covered by those as well. We just, with all the federal money that's flown into local governments over the past few years, a lot of local governments are behind the learning curve on that, and I don't want us to be, and it's something that Mr. Cummings and I have talked about, and we want to come back with a process that works for the county as a whole and for each of our departments.
So just to be clear, and I'll be quiet, the sheriff's department is performing that function the way it's designed to be performed. There are no issues there. It's about the process when it gets to signing what's called the ESAC verification. And that verification is what we want to make sure that it's signed, that we go through the appropriate budget, the auditing processes to ensure that our I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And when people sign something, they know that they're signing it, that it is true and accurate to the best of their abilities. Beyond that, I don't have anything else. Everything that matters for the board. And we're going to close session. Do I have a motion to go to closed session?
I'll make that motion if we can have a bio break too.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All we are in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Thank you.